Of course, our best wishes for you this season of Christmas. Ensure you put a smile on someone's face. It's the TMI Monday. We get into the groove now with our conversation segment. Professor Cyril Otoihia is a professor of genetics from Novena University, a regular on this program, particularly on the conversations as it relates to COVID-19. Earlier in our Viewpoint segment, we had some medical practitioners giving their perspectives on the new variant of COVID-19, talking about the Omicron variant. And you can, I mean, from the papers a while ago, you heard when I read that UK, Canada is tightening the news on Nigeria. Why? We've got to find out in the course of the discussion. And then, of course, UK particularly is putting Nigeria on the red list. And the Nigerians are saying we've got to hit back. The federal government has already responded through the Minister of State, Minister of Health, Dr. Osage Hanire, that there is really no reason for the UK to take such a decision. But let's begin our conversation from the journey so far, from when COVID broke out, the issues that were at the front burner at the time, the responses that came forward from authorities, the World Health, the NCDC, okay, the CDC in the US, the NCDC in Nigeria, and then what now led to some sort of a lull. We saw a lull where the lockdowns, changed to open down, so to speak, all right? But we're on the verge of going into another lockdown. Some countries have already started taking that decision. Before we get to the Omicron new strain of the virus, what's your assessment so far?
Sunny Duke, from the beginning, when I'm asked what is my assessment so far, I always end up laughing.
Why?
I always laugh because I mentioned it from few days after the declaration that these merchants of virus have come again. So they are in business. It does not have anything to do with threat of virus or hate of humans. And I did mention that nobody should disturb his or herself or give a sleepless night to yourself over COVID-19, not until when the vaccines will come in. And we saw the stages rolling out, one after the other. And today, we are still on it, and the business still continues. So why are people being disturbed when they use concepts? I watched certain videos or several videos, and you see persons who are trained as scientists, when they use concept they don't understand and use it to dabble and dazzle people's thinking, and at the end of the day confuse a lot of persons, and people are so conscious of their environment that they don't even now know what to do. That fear of death, very close to humans, is what they are sowed into people. They push it into people's mind and keep people in out of fear. That's all. How can a medical doctor be talking about virus? And the worst thing is variant. Variant is a genetic concept. Even a virologist cannot even define what a variant is. So I remember I mentioned it that first week, that as the trend goes on and as time unfolds, that we will see different variants. They will call it variants. And they have been using the concept variant. If I ask them what is a variant, can they define what a variant is? Even a virologist can't define what a variant is. So from that time till now, the only thing that have happened is that vaccine they brought, we have not have access to it. Nobody has an access to it. Why are you giving people drugs and you don't allow people have access to that same drug you're administering? How I wish they came from the end that it was in form of tablet or capsule that is handy, and you throw it into your mouth so that some of us will go and pick it and open it and assess what is inside. But they came with jab. So they jab you and you don't even know what they are jabbing you. Vaccine I have mentioned, vaccines are virus, because the active ingredient in all vaccines are virus. That has been said severally, and a lot of scientists across the world have been contacting me, and they have been agreeing with me that my concept is right, that vaccines are virus, because the active ingredient is a virus. So when the vaccine now came, it was then the real COVID-19, whatever they called COVID-19, came. And I asked people to be worried about it. And remember, I was asked that first week of declaration of COVID-19, what is my advice to people? I said, remain where you are. So if now UK and US and all of them are restricting Nigerians, congratulations to Nigerians. I feel celebrated. And I want every Nigerian to celebrate themselves. For once, let's remain where we are and watch them. And let some of us who are better scientists than they are challenge them and expose their weak points in terms of using stupid concepts to confuse the whole world. So I celebrate those decisions of restricting Nigerians not to come. Because I remember I advised Nigerians to remain at home so that you'll be in a safe zone. When you are in your house, you are safer than when you visit somebody and you don't know the concept of what entities or items are inside that place you are visiting.
Okay. Let's get this point out. COVID has been killing people. Isn't that enough justification for the vaccines to roll out? Or can we deny the fact that COVID hasn't been killing people?
Sonny Duke, it is wrong for any person to say COVID is killing people.
Why?
COVID is faceless. Who knows it? Up to now, has any scientist been able to diagnose through laboratory experiment to show us what COVID is, except a picture that has lasted 2 years before the declaration of COVID-19 that shows what COVID-19 looks like? With one beautiful picture of something having spikes, and they call it spikes that he uses it to attach to anything. It's just stupid ideas. It's deceit. COVID has not killed any person, but the merchants of viruses across the world are the ones killing people. Because virus is far from humans. So it takes the wicked heart of man to bring virus close to humans.
How do you establish,
how do you
establish that when we know that a virus is a microorganism that is there in the space, is there in the environment?
Oh no, that is a wrong concept when you say a virus is a microorganism. No, we have gone past that. Because on this channel, severally I did explain that a virus is a non-living thing because it does not have a cell. Because in science, we define cell as the basic unit of life. Basic unit. So if there's no cell, there is no life. So virus does not have cell at all. They are chemical substances. I did explain, and a lot of scientists across the world, South Africa, America, Asia, has agreed with me that yes, viruses are non-living things. Because if they were to be living things, no human will exist. No living organisms will be on Earth because they are stronger.
So are you by implication saying COVID-19 virus is a non-living thing?
COVID-19 virus in all entity is a non-living thing.
So what is now the content of the vaccines?
The content of the vaccine is the same virus that they call COVID-19. And I did mention that from the initial point, all the symptoms we were given, I traced it to heavy mentals. I mentioned it. And I said, take those heavy mentals, inject it to a living body, and you see symptoms of COVID-19. A medical doctor sits in his office as a doctor, and the patient comes. You observe the patient. I've mentioned it before. Then you correlate the symptoms or from the answers to those questions on how the person feels. Then you correlate to a particular ailment. Then you go back and administer a drug that will counter that ailment. Simple procedure. Simple procedure. So, but for COVID-19, up till now, there is no scientist who have gone to the lab to show me a definite procedure. But all you see is treatment. So you don't even know what you are fighting. When has science become so strange? When has science come with all ideas of falsehood? Science is real. Science is open. Come out. Bring this thing, put it on the table. Show it to the whole world what COVID is. Up till now, Sonny Duke, there is no scientist across the world who has laboratory identified what COVID-19 is as an entity. But I have been able to strike it to heavy mental because as a geneticist, I look at the root. And from the root, I traced it. If it enters the body, what effect will it have on the cell? And remember that the cell as an entity, as a genetics, I have a complete knowledge of what a cell is. And that is why I can describe life.
Now, you have said that no scientist has been able to tell us what is the active ingredient in the COVID-19 virus, as it were, and then, of course, the vaccines. But you said you have come up to say that you have traced COVID to heavy metals.
Yeah.
You didn't carry out this experiment in any laboratory. So how did you come about this? Isn't it speculative, just like what is there in the public space?
It's not speculation. Even before the microscope and others came, there was science. So what were they doing? Today we talk about genetics. I'm a geneticist, so let me refer it back to where I have my training. We talk about Gregor Mendel. What did Gregor Mendel do? He was an Australian monk. Australian monk, we know, lives in isolation. Is it not? And he didn't have lab at the beginning. But he was able to sit down and think and came out with a procedure and principles. And today those principles still stand. And they are unique. Unique in the sense because he sat down and was thinking. I was reasoning like somebody who has intelligence or intellect in him. And he brought it out, and nothing has changed the principles of genetics. It won't change because it's real. Okay, you said they came up with the idea that it's a living thing. It can mutate. How can something that does not have cell mutate? How can something that does not have cell, how does it mutate? Mutation comes in 2 stages, mostly. There's what we call chromosomal mutation. So at chromosome development level, there could be deviation from normal. There is gene mutation. But let me tell you that for mutation to occur, there is an external factor, which we call in genesis the environmental factor, that will affect the natural basis, which is the DNA and the RNA. So those environmental factors that will act on those natural provisions are forgotten. And such is what they are talking about. And it belongs to, it was created when the world was created. So it has been with man. I was going through Google of recent, and I discovered that there is beginning to be a shift from producing falsehood information in order to achieve that business they want to accomplish of recent. So there is a shift, and the right or the truthful ideas are being published. So if you find out of recent, when coronavirus started, they traced it back to many years ago. I don't understand what BS and all those ones mean. But you see, 8,000 ES, BC or whatever, many years ago, and they are quantifying it to about 50 million years.
So which means...
So if it has been existing since 50 million years, then why the hue and cry?
Why the hue and cry now?
Why is the hue and cry? Why are they disturbing everybody? Why are they putting everybody on their toes? So it has been with us, and we have been existing. See, I always make reference to my friend State, because when you carry out an experiment, there is what we call a neutral one, which you call the control. So Kogi State has been a control element
in Nigeria.
Yes, in Nigeria, and the whole world you copy it. Kogi State is a control. So when you now carry out an experiment and you discover that there is no effect, the control has not vanished, and there is no effect on the control, then you accept the control. So you accept the alternative and allow the idea that you had before to while away. But because they are in business, I continue to mention it, because it's a business strategy, they will not want to withdraw because of human beings' feelings towards another human being.
Okay, now...
It's just business.
Because you talked about mutation.
Yes.
It brings me to my next question, which has to do with the Omicron new variant of COVID-19. One would be tempted to think that from your analysis so far, it doesn't exist.
Omicron. Few days back, the word Omicron came. And something in me say, ask them, because they own Google. For now, they have captured that unit of disseminating information to people. Find out, and Sonny Duke, find out what is the meaning of Omicron. Omicron is a Greek word for alphabet O. Letter O is Omicron. It's a Greek word for Omicron. So if Omicron is letter O, of what use is it to classifying a virus that even the person who named it, find out whether there is any name of any scientist who named it for the first time. But they will tell you it has been discovered in so place. Who is the person that discovered it there? You won't even trace it to any living human.
But we're told it came out from South Africa as a new variant.
It came out
that
from
the
South
virus
Africa.
has now mutated.
Yes, mutated.
Yes.
That word mutation, I don't want to hear it any longer.
Why?
Because COVID-19 is a virus, and viruses are non-living things. They don't contain cell. It's only a unit that has cell that will mutate. I've said this severally.
But you said there are environmental factors that could lead to mutation.
When the cell does not exist, then there is no environmental factor. There is nothing that the environmental factors will act on.
What environmental factors are you talking about?
When you
talk
say
about
environmental
pressure,
factors,
you talk about temperature.
Yes.
You talk about pressure. You talk about humidity. You talk
I
about
even made
this,
analysis of what environmental factors look like when I mentioned something on the Hiroshima War. Hiroshima War, the effect of war weapons. That 25 years after, the life that existed in Hiroshima till now give birth to funny creatures. That is mutation because of the effect of those war weapons that were used. Because they contain radioactive agents. Are you getting me?
Yeah.
Good. So, if there was supposed to be a cell, then there are factors, environmental factors acting on this cell, then the cell can mutate.
Okay.
Like what I have told people, whatever things they come out with in terms of names, in terms of types of COVID-19, they are not variants, they are brands.
What's the difference?
Brand means human being developing different faces out of one product. Human beings. The initial product produced by human being, then the follow-up products produced by human beings.
I mean, you're still talking about variants. You have the original product.
Yes.
Someone has produced another type. Is that a variant?
But have they opened up to the world that they produced what they classified as COVID-19, that is not natural, that it does not have cell? That means it was not created. Have they agreed? Have they opened up to everybody? No. If they do that, then the business will end. So when you say a variant, it strikes me as a genetics. And I will ask the question, where is the pre-existing cell that factors now affected and now change its mode in terms of either chromosomal drift or the gene drift? Then another offspring now comes up. When you say variant, I listened to a medical doctor. He said, is a child. It's a child. That is a bird. So if you now say a bird, what is the name of the male COVID-19 and what is the name of the female COVID-19? If they think they are dull in science, it's not everybody that can be cajoled into accepting principles that are baseless, scientifically baseless, and it does not have any meaning. So what is the male name? Well, what is the name for the male strain of COVID-19? And what is the name for the female strain? And how do they meet? And how many chromosomes do they contain? How many chromosomes builds up each of them? So when they now fuse together in terms of contributing genetic materials that will lead to birth, because for birth to occur, for a variant to occur, there must be parents. So who are who, or what is the parents of COVID-19?
Now, there are certain characteristics that have been unveiled to us as being the characteristics of Omicron. That it's more deadly, it spreads faster, more contagious, and all of these characteristics that have been put out there. So what's your explanation to these?
Omicron, or whatever they have called it, is still part of marketing of heavy metals. And I remember I said when the different variant comes, the different variants will build up together. Remember that one member of that panel, of the WHO panel, did mention it, and I said it here clear, that I questioned him through their open channel on Facebook when they were giving word brief, and he answered me that the active ingredient, and what he mentioned was a heavy metal. Simple. Okay, when you now bring heavy metal, for people to accept anything, you must come in different ways to confuse the people. That's marketing. I didn't do management sciences, but I know that in marketing, you try to convince people to accept what you are bringing to the people. And I did mention it that different types will come. So this is another brand. So if you check Omicron, there must be an active ingredient. And if you check that active ingredient, it's heavy mental. And if you check the effect on the body, it will go back to symptoms of COVID-19. It's science, it's straight. There is no hide place in it. It's open. So Omicron has come. In terms of people may not have accepted the Delta variant. Remember, there was Delta variant.
There's Delta variant.
Yes.
There's Alpha variant.
Yes.
There's Gamma variant.
Yes.
And then there was another, I can't remember the other variant now.
All are grammar.
How they
All
grammar?
are stupid concepts. Because one is the same class of item, and which is heavy mental. So if you join all of them together, you see complete symptoms of COVID-19. So what is COVID-19? Heavy mental. And what is heavy mental? They are virus. And what is a virus? Because it does not have a cell, it's a non-living thing. It's chemical substances. So they are pushing the chemical substances to the people. So Omicron is another good name that will strike the people. But a lot of persons did not even take the pains to look at common alphabets, A, B, C, D. At the time you get to O is Omicron. I did not design it. It was the Greek word. It's a Greek word. So that designed Omicron. It was that designed Omicron. So if letter O is Omicron, and you are now telling us that the one that just erupted, okay, fine. A medical doctor even also mentioned it, that it may not be as deadly. But we were told that every variant that comes is more deadlier than the original one, which is the COVID-19 itself. So everyone that comes will be more deadly. And I mentioned it that yes, they are right, because they must create that fear. That fear factor must continue for people to accept whatever is coming. So that is Omicron. After Omicron, more will come, because people are still resisting imbibing or taking in that substance they call vaccine. Let me tell you something. If you take that vaccine, I like experiments. Let them take any living thing. I think those days they will say, okay, when you have something to test on human, because human cells are quite different from every other living organisms on earth. The reaction to environmental factor is different. If, for example, you now say, okay, fine, let's look for a way to use human beings to test some of these vaccines. Then maybe you say, okay, experimentally, or if there is provisions in terms of allowing people to be used, then you look at maybe condemned victims of crime. You say, okay, fine, let's try them. Because even in developed world, they inject people who are condemned to death. Is it not? Legally.
Yeah.
They inject them, they give them slow death.
Yeah.
What do they use to arrive at slow death? It's heavy metals. You pump it in, and it seizes the cells to function gradually. And once that cell stops functioning, then life is off.
Yeah.
Then they go and bury. Or they feed them to fishes in the river. Is it not? Good. So if we take this vaccine and go and pick one or two experimental material, which I will classify maybe a condemned criminal, and inject volumes of that vaccine that has been distributed around the world with different namings, you will arrive at symptoms of COVID-19, which will end up in death of that organism, of that human. If they think it's a lie, let's try it. Don't tie people to stake, to fire, when they are condemned. And don't hang them when they are condemned. They are criminals and they are be condemned. Take COVID-19 vaccine and infuse heavy volume of it into a living body, and see whether you will not see manifestation of all the symptoms and will end up in death.
When you resist taking the vaccine, you are called an anti-vaxxer. Do you get this kind of criticism from professionals across the world? And how do you respond to them?
Oh, yes. If you look at professionals who are using all those concepts to describe people, you discover that a lot of them are compromised. I have been challenged severally on several media. A lecturer, I am a researcher, I'm a university lecturer, and we are not politicians, so we challenge ourselves. I was in Silverbell Television, and a lecturer from Nasarawa State University was using insultive words. After calling me a professor and my senior colleague, and was telling me that I don't even have any publications, that he does not even know where I came from. And I said I'm a lecturer. After insulting me, what I did was I wanted to bring out that truth in him. I asked a lawyer to address him and his cohorts, and they ran away. Even some of them denied their names. The lawyer is still alive, and the DHL that sent the letters to 5 of them still have the records of their reactions. The first one that collected his letter never knew what was inside. Immediately he opened and he discovered that it was a letter from a lawyer asking him to come and address me in court on the claim that he, as a virologist, is saying that COVID-19 is a living thing and is killing people. They ran away. So up to today, I have just given them time to rest. When the end of COVID-19 comes, then I will start firing. We must bring out the truth. The scientific truth behind COVID-19 must come.
You said, when will it come? Because that
it will come
when will
at
it
the
come?
end, because they are getting close to the end. There is nothing that is human that does not have an end. It will come. Do you know why it will come? When they finish achieving the population control factor of it, then they will relax. And they will prepare again to come another time when there is signal that the world is becoming overpopulated. Then I did mention it at the beginning that some other ones that will come as virus will create more careful factor. They will even tell us that people, you just sit down. As you have been looking at me concentrating since, at a point you will no more see me. I have vanished. So the virus will make persons or organisms to vanish. It will come. There are the pictures and videos of it to come. Yes. Because nothing is new in science. I've said this severally. Nothing is new. So those who are challenging me, where are they today? Those who said at the beginning that there are herbal solutions, where are they today? I talk of my senior colleague, Professor Iwu. Professor Iwu came up with the idea that he has a herbal solution. And he was made the chairman of COVID response team in his state, Imo State. And today he's championing the use of vaccines. So where is herbal solution?
That he brought forth.
That he brought and showed to the world. He even responded to one of my questions that WHO or whatever, or NAFDAC has refused to approve his product. I said, why don't you now take it to them and challenge them openly? So let them take it in and let's use it and see what the result will. What has happened to Professor Iwu's herbal solution to COVID-19? What has happened to other countries who were selling? Madagascar sold us a lot of volumes of herbal solution to COVID-19. Where are they today? They are no more. So it will gradually wear off. One after the other, it will be striking off until we get to the end. And when we are at the end, then everybody will now be on a flat space. Okay, look at Omicron, more deadly, but cannot result in death. Thank God, NCDC yesterday, I was seeing the publications, no more death, as at 2 days back.
Even with the arrival of Omicron.
Even with the arrival
with the advent of Omicron.
Omicron.
Yeah.
Ominimini, I call it Ominimini. Okay, fine. South Africa, it came out from, they identified it first in South Africa.
Yes.
South Africa, America, Greece, and some other countries have more numbers than Nigeria. But you are now saying no entrance to Nigeria at all, to your country. It's God that is pushing them to take those stupid decisions. But it's in our favor. Because I did mention it. Remain where you are. Because where you don't know, you put yourself in danger. And they can infuse this thing into you. And you die off slowly. That is the effect of virus.
All right, let's talk about the human body. To be able to checkmate these substances naturally. Is that a possibility?
Yes. See, man was made and man was above every other thing. It was more superior in terms of consider it or compare it to anything that existed on earth. Man is unique. So in the body, there are natural inbuilt defense mechanisms. And these inbuilt defense mechanisms are controlled not by man, but are controlled by the cell itself, because there are signals which we classified as the gene that controls every activities of the body. See, let me explain to you. If you hit the body or you pierce the body, there is reactions to the body because you feel pains, and that pain goes to the brain, and the brain signals that there is something hot, and the brain walks up the army and send the army go to so point and protect the body because there is foreign body try to enter. Are you getting me? So when foreign body enters the system, the body notifies it. There is signal, and there is provisions for that. So the defensive mechanism fights back, which is the immune system. So when it fights back, it can defend the body in different forms. So some, when they enter and they're able to beat the under the skin protection, which is the subcutaneous layer, then you see the body sending cells around. They are soldiers. That element that has entered, which is the foreign body, will start killing off those cells. As it's killing off the cells, they are packing full and they are casing it up to reduce the effect. That's what we call defensive mechanism, which is classified as immune system of the body. It's natural. Very, very natural. It comes with signal from the genes. So they are not controlled by man. Man can't get there. So when that happens, then the thing is fused in, like for example, the vaccines they are giving to people. Hope you know a lot of people are reacting to it. And I've seen 1, 2, 3, 4, plenty who have taken it. And when you feel the point, you feel stone-like feeling, which means there are dead cells. Those dead cells, what they have done is to protect, to case that element that have been introduced into the body, which is foreign, which is deadly. And it remains there. So it will no more overwhelm the body or the system, because if it overwhelms the system, then death will occur. So the body itself has a way of fighting, and that is why you have lifespan. And there are stages in life where has been classified as the critical points, because as the body is getting older, then the immune system is bound to reduce because of activities of the cells. And remember that in the body, the cells are not replaced. When they complete their function and they die, they go. And that is why there is lifespan. That is why in characteristics of living things, there is birth, and the last point is death. It's simple ideology. It's simple principle. So when the body is scared of what has come in, then they fight. Immune system comes in handy. Then when they case that thing up, they reduce the function of that thing. But it's not lost, it's still there. So when you open it up and you bring that bundle of dead cell, wash it, and you see what is inside that they have cased up. Find out what it is. Heavy metals. They are the only dangerous thing on earth.
If you just join us, it's still TMI. I told you a while ago at the beginning that it's going to be a very interesting conversations just to help you make sense of all that is out there in the public space. On the Viewpoint segment, you had a lot of medical professionals giving their views and perspectives on the new variant of COVID-19 called the Omicron virus, first spotted in South Africa and is now been spotted in different countries. In Nigeria, just a few that has been identified, but that is enough for countries like Canada, the UK to take a decisive decision on not letting anybody out of the country to visit their country. People have asked the question, what is the justification for this? But the big question is, when will all of this come to an end? Will all of this ever end? Because after the outbreak of COVID-19, few months down the line, we started hearing of a new variant called the Delta variant. First came out from the UK, all right? And then the impression was given that that was really, really deadly and highly contagious, could spread faster and all of that. The dust generated by that had barely settled when we started hearing about other variants, the Alpha variant, the Gamma variant, the Beta variant, and there was another one that came out from one of the countries in South America. We've not heard anything much about that one in recent times until the one that just broke out from South Africa, the Omicron variant of the virus. I mean, I'm sure that one of the questions that's continued to bother a lot of people is, when will all of this come to an end? And you said the end is near. You said that some time ago on this program.
Yeah.
But after you said so, Delta variant came out. Now you're saying the end is near. How possible is that if, by your analysis, those who are making merchandise of all of these are hell bent on continuing with what's going on? I mean, in Nigeria, we just heard that about 9 billion naira can't be accounted for as it relates to COVID-19 funding.
The end is near. And if I say the end is near, I mean my words, the end is near. When countries begin to sit down to think and assess from the beginning what has been and start breaking off from that cabal of marketing, then the weight of effect of information they are spreading to people will reduce. Then the acceptance of whatever they are saying will reduce. Yesterday, I think on NT, I was seeing advert on summit on way out of COVID-19. Federal government, Nigerian federal government. I said, wow. But they gave open invitation to people. If I had got wind of that invitation on time, I would be in Abuja. And one-on-one, I will have the opportunity to talk to those who take decisions, because our president will be there. Good. I remember I did mention, invite scientists to assess what is happening. So now that they have locked us out of traveling, then the pressure is hot. Then there is summit. I want to see the outcome of that summit. If that summit goes by any way scientific, Nigeria will be forced to pull out of COVID marketing. When 1-2 countries start breaking off, then at the end of the day, the weight of whatever they have planned is reducing. Then they will chicken out and they will wait again for more years and they will bring up another one. So when countries start removing themselves from that marketing process, then the effect will start reducing. Nothing. Outside people that vaccines have killed, there is no COVID-19 anywhere. No COVID-19. The COVID-19 is the virus.
So what's killing people? You just said outside those who have been killed by COVID-19, and then you are saying there's no COVID-19. That's double speaking, Prof.
Get me clear. The COVID-19 is the virus they have put inside the bottle called vaccine. It's man-made. It's not natural.
COVID was killing people before the vaccines came.
COVID was not anywhere. The COVID is inside the bottle. And for it to get to the person,
before the bottle came, COVID was already there, out there.
Did I not mention it at a week after the declaration that nobody is dying anywhere? That most of the pictures and videos they were showing were state managed. They were designed to capture
so
people.
What were the daily? Yeah. What about the daily statistics coming forth? Those daily statistics.
Have you taken pains? I have asked scientists to take the pains to look at death rate of the world for the past 20 years. Check it and correlate it with what is happening, and you discover that there is a reduction even in death rate compared to 15 years ago, compared to 20 years ago, compared to 10 years ago. People are no more dying, but they are telling us that people are dying in millions. Where are the dead bodies? Where are the dead bodies? You are telling me that 1,000 persons died in Nigeria and nobody is crying anywhere. No family is bereaved. Are they strange human beings?
There have been some very disturbing figures coming from countries like Israel, countries like India on COVID-19, even South Africa.
Yes.
So what explanation do you have for that?
Cabal work.
How?
They have network. If you want to sell a product, you have your network. So their network goes everywhere.
You studied in India. I mean, you studied in Israel.
I studied in Israel, yes.
What's your assessment of the status of the scientific environment?
I did mention one day in one of my publications on Facebook that for the first time, I remember that concept in the Bible, oh, Israel. And I cried, oh, Israel. So they have accepted and been part of this nonsense for the first time in science. No. I was disappointed in Israel for being part of this in terms of pushing fear into people to accept what will kill them later.
Have you been concerned by the fact that in some of the countries where vaccinations are highest,
Yes.
there seems to be a positive correlation on the number of COVID-19 cases.
See, Sonny Dio, there is something I want the world to understand. Anytime any person mentions to you COVID-19, put your mind back to symptoms that they have given. That is the COVID. It's not an entity, it does not exist. Then what brings up, what will enter the body that will result on the body now expressing those symptoms is what matters to you and I, which is what is contained as active ingredient in the vaccine. It's a clear ideology. It's clear. There's no hidden thing in it. So I told people then, I said, nobody is dying. But when vaccine comes, then you will see the real death. And I have made a request, let them pump volume of that in. Into all these variants you are seeing is the brands they are bringing. For now, I have seen on Google too that even, what do they call that company? Glazo company is saying that they cannot provide vaccine for Omicron, not until 6 months' time. And a scientist from one of the Asia countries is saying by 6 months' time, by 4 months' time, Omicron will overwhelm the whole world. I read it and I laughed. And I said, this one is not a scientist.
Why do you say that?
He's not a scientist because what he's talking about, one-on-one like this, if we sit down to question him or her, they cannot defend their claims. They cannot.
People have been talking about Africa lagging behind in access to vaccines.
Yes.
Are you concerned about this?
I am. If I say concern now, let me in my own words describe it as positive and negative. Mine is that I am positively concerned in the sense that we are not getting it and we should not get it. Yes. Why should we take in what will kill us? That is it. So if Africa is not getting enough vaccine, fine. And that is why one of them mentioned that he's surprised. You know, at the early stage, there was somebody who mentioned, and he's a scientist. They classified him as a scientist, very highly rated. And he said he's surprised that Africans are not dying. You remember? And the wife to the Machadans, and all of them, the woman came up and said, I see litters of dead body in Africa. And I said it here that she will never observe it physically, seeing dead body in Africa, because we will tell the people the truth and we'll get them armed and prepared to face whatever will come. Vaccines are virus, and virus are killing entities to the body. When they meet the cell, they chop up the cells because they are chemical substance. So where are the dead bodies today? Where are the litters of dead bodies in streets in Africa? They are not there. Have you seen any? We have been in Benin City together, and I have traveled around some states in Nigeria. I have not seen litters of dead body. You just wake up and see dead body in the streets in Africa. It has not come to pass, and it will never come to pass. It will never. And the man that says, if we don't take vaccine, everybody will die. Me, I have not taken vaccine, and I will not take it because, one, vaccine is drug, is it not? And every country across the world, I have not seen any country with any legislative provision in terms of law that says it is compulsory that you must take drug. It's never. It's nowhere. So it's optional. So taking drugs is optional. So why are they compelling people? Why are you forcing people not to enter their office space? You don't want people to go to work because they have not taken vaccine. Why is it? And you are not pushing people to take the alternative, the devil's alternative to escape that. Let me tell you something I have just observed of recent. I've taken samples. I've gone out on survey, and I've discovered that a lot of persons who are claiming to have taken the vaccine, they did not take any vaccine, but they have the certificate. Yes. You push the people to the wall, the people will react. Everybody is looking for safety. Everybody is looking for survival. Isn't it? They mentioned it, and even the Federal Ministry of Information placed it at a time that there are a lot of fake certificates, COVID certificates. Yeah. Why will they not come? Those who have those fake certificates, did they take the vaccine? No. Have they died? No. Are we not living? We are here.
Okay. All right, Prof, we'll take a pause here for today, and we'll look for more opportunities to engage these issues as they unfold. Views canvassed here, as you know, we always say that. The views of those canvassing them will just ensure that these views are expressed or canvassed in line with the editorial guidelines that we have from our supervisors and our regulators, as it were. Recall that in this program today, we had some views expressed by medical practitioners. We also need to look at the flip side and have some balance of opinion, because our role basically is to put the information out there in a balanced format so you can make sense and take a decision. Nobody is telling you not to take the vaccine if you so desire. But in recent time, we've seen some level of compulsion, particularly in the civilized world, where even parents are being told, well, their children can be vaccinated without seeking the opinion, the permission of the parents. I don't know where all that is coming from, particularly when you look at it from the perspective of human rights and freedom to do or not to do. Yeah. But it's a matter for another day. Professor Cyril Tokian, thanks a lot for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's the TMI Monday. We'll take another break. We're back with you for the rest of the show. Don't go away. Stay with us.